Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Welcome back, guys. After I would say a little bit of an atypical weekend, right? We got some news that really seemed to impact the TradFi markets, and of course, it is impacting our coins. But don't worry, we will be talking about obviously both the impacts, to the coins, but of course, what this could mean for legacy markets as well. I'm Tommy. You guys also know me as Storlax. I'm joined by Unbothered Chef Jackus and, of course, Louis. Max should be joining us here in just a little bit, but I will say the devs are doing something currently. So that is what Max is doing as we speak, continuing to make BB the best possible product that we can for you guys. But we're going to have a great show today on Market Check. Like I said, we did have some volatility over the weekend. We had a lot happen last week. Really, with everything that occurred from a political standpoint, it's a very important, I think, next 2 or 3 weeks for this market to determine where it wants to trend, right? Because we have had all of these positive headlines. It's time for them to start being reflected in price. Otherwise, are we looking at more range? Are we looking at more down? Like I said, those will be things that we discuss on today's show, though. But before we can do that, before we can get into the charts, and of course, all of the alpha that we have for you guys. And I always say Mondays are the best days on Market Check because everybody has about 2 or 3 days to just kind of sit on their thoughts and really come up with some good alpha. That's usually, at least for me, when I'm not looking at a lower time frame chart all day, when I tend to have some of the best epiphanies about the market. But we would be very appreciative if you guys can slam the like button. We're going to do our best as well to deliver you guys a great show on this fine Monday. But I hope everybody had a great weekend. I think everybody who is not a Bills or or a Washington fan probably did have a pretty good weekend. But the market is very volatile. Once again, last week, it seemed like every other day. It's so over, we're so back. I think we're still kind of waiting for that true directionality to be reflected within this market. After the week that was, we got positive headline after positive headline after positive headline, but price didn't quite break out. Now, some of that was a factor of positioning. Volatility was obviously very elevated. It would have taken a lot for the market to move higher. But now that we've seen that volatility come down, at least in the front end, now is the time for the market to really show its hand. And obviously, we had the whole DeepSeek thing happening in China. I don't fully understand the situation well enough to be able to explain it beyond the fact that it does put NVIDIA and obviously U.S. dominance over AI into question, right? And we're seeing that reflected already in NVIDIA's price action today, down 15% on the day. But despite that weakness has been mostly isolated to just the NVIDIA market. So thus far, we're seeing a move in equities, but it really hasn't been that pronounced. Volatility moved, but it has retraced already. And I think it's kind of more of just an isolated event to NVIDIA at this point in time. Whether that changes over the next week or two, obviously that's something that we'll continue to watch because it will impact our coins if it does. But I think this is going to be a very interesting next 2 weeks to see and look back on. But I'd love to know what you guys are thinking in the markets. If you guys have any AI model that you're developing that can quietly compete with NVIDIA, you should tell me. But how are we doing, guys? How was our weekend? What are we seeing in the markets? And most importantly, maybe we save it for later in the show, but I'd love to get an answer now if you have it, where we think we're going next.
0.
It is over. It is more over than previously thought possible. It is even more over than ever thought before.
Most over, even more over than that.
We got the we got the move that I was looking for on the lower time frames, or like lower time frames in this regard. The H4, or maybe we could even say the daily. But I think this is the near end, if not the entire end of the shenanigans. I think this move was mainly ThreadFire related with what was going on over the weekend, when literally everyone was discussing, like DeepSeek, Chinese AI model, which suddenly causes a crash over every single market out there, right? Like, if you do not smell shenanigans here, then I do not know what else will, right? Scheduled over the weekend when markets are closed, everyone suddenly, all the Matrix agents out there on Twitter shares it at the same time. Never
Yeah.
heard of it before. Suddenly it's everywhere.
Everyone's an
And
expert on it.
and listen, it might be like revolutionary, and that would be a great thing, right? Because more competition enhances efficiency, and that in the end should be bullish for all markets, because everyone will be forced to upgrade, to adopt. Uh, I just think that this wasn't at all crypto related drop, although it was scheduled at the right time. And as one of our followers said, it got already released 3 weeks ago, the DeepSync stuff. Sorry, yeah, DeepSeek. See, I can't even pronounce it, what it is. It was released 3 weeks ago, but they decided to push it publicly, like every single.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Jackus?
The Matrix did not want Jackus to
Yeah.
continue
Oh
talking
my
about
God. He was
DeepSeek.
about to drop the alpha.
Don't know what happened.
They're attacking you, Jackus. The Matrix is
The
attacking you.
Matrix is attacking you.
The Matrix doesn't want me to say it out loud, but I'll say it regardless. Deep state is everywhere, guys. But yeah, I do not think that this was a crypto related drop, and I think it was quite obviously scheduled at the right time. Now, obviously, levels are levels. Levels need to hold regardless. But I think this will maybe cause some local disruption to the US AI market for sure. Maybe steal some of its market share, but it's not like the US market, the US AI market is going anywhere. It's here to stay. It's here to prosper, and that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. I would agree it's not crypto related. However, the wonky, we've seen a lot of wonky price action, especially the last week or two, right? A lot of choppiness. And basically all of that price action we've seen has now, like, all the lows that were put in from that, that price sequence have now been ran right to the downside. Which, makes sense in a way, right? It makes sense. Like, they were just stacking lows, right? Obviously someone was accumulating down there. We kind of know who it was. A lot of people get overexcited long into that, right? Because it's all over the news. Everyone gets stops taking out. At this point, right, where we are in crypto, if anyone who is or going to capitulate and sell their altcoins probably has done it by now, right? Like, even myself, like, I'm probably one of the most optimistically bullish people in this market. And even myself, I woke up when I rolled over right after the weekend and took a look at, because I fell asleep early last night. So I literally just rolled over and then took a look at my phone. I was like, Jesus, like, again, ETH's at 3K. I was like, oh my. And it's not even the price or the P&L. It's more or less just like, it feels like multiple over and over, time and time again. It feels like we're building up, we're getting the bullish news, we're trying to put in a bottom, try to put in a low, and it seems like every time, like, 2 steps, like 1 step forward, three sweeps back, right?
Three sweeps back.
Yeah, someone said that at the Discord this morning, so I thought that was hysterical. But even I felt this one. I was like, God damn! I was like, what is going on? Like, am I gonna have to freaking sell? Like, what's going on? And I was like, wait, hold on a second. I was like, that's what the market wants me to think right now. And I know I've held out a long time, and I know people have already been feeling this way for a long time as well. So the fact that I'm starting to feel that way, tells me that, it's kind of, we're at that moment, kind of like where it could be a do or die, or that could be the last final, demoralizing blow to the markets, or at least the market participants. So we will see, right? We have FOMC this week, so that's also throwing a wrench in everything. Usually volatile around the FOMC. So we'll see. But the FOMC does tend to initiate pivot points in the market as well. So could work in our favor. But at this point, what we've seen so far, we definitely could see, we're seeing some bounces across the board. But I feel like until Wednesday, we might see some bounce, but we'll probably also see some, chop and consolidation until then. So kind of at the point where we kind of just have to wait and see what happens on Wednesday. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That feeling you just described, Louis, I feel like I can observe that behavior at multiple points within this cycle thus far, right? Where we reach a point after we've kind of already pumped a lot, where the entire market just gets way out ahead of its skis. And maybe it's more so in equities right now than crypto, in the sense that obviously Nvidia just took a dump. Maybe there were some people over levered for the all-time high break on the SPX, but still, I look back on crypto since basically the 2022 cycle bottom, and we've had lots of moments where we all knew the positive catalysts that were coming over the coming next 2 to 3 years, but on like a 1 to 2, 3 month basis, that positioning got way too overzealous and ended up getting punished, right? I think about SVB. I think about the dump from 30 to 26K. I think about the Bitcoin ETF range. I think about, obviously, we won't talk about it for very long, but the 6 or 7 month range, where we all thought, at each of these junctures, the market would probably continue to go higher, just to continue what over time is kind of more or less stacking these consolidations in a fashion where, when you look at parabolic price history for previous assets, right, it takes a little bit for them to reach parabola, but again, they're slowly stacking consolidations on top of each other. You're slowly reaching that crescendo. And I almost wonder, is this going to be another one of those consolidations that we're just kind of stacking on top of each other? Yes, there will be volatility in between. Obviously, we had August 5th or August 2nd, rather, during the last consolidation, where we really went after overzealous participants. But at the end of the day, I think that this is going to be a product of where we're headed. We know where crypto is going over a 2 or 3 year period, but people get so caught up in the positive rhetoric, the positive price affirmations, the feedback loop, that sometimes they get a little bit lost in the sauce, over lever where they shouldn't, and ultimately, sometimes they got to get rinsed. But the end goal, the end result, to me, is still the same. I am not entertaining any cycle top calls. Could this pull back further? I think it could, but I think that this is just kind of a product of the cycle that we're in, which is, to quote somebody who I find to be very bright. Obviously, they've had mixed history with NCT, but this is going to be a cycle where people hyper gamble generational levels of debt to try and make it. And I think the price action is reflecting that.
Oh yeah, that's for sure coming. I can see that, especially with the credit card debt that's currently happening. People will just kind of go like, "Hey, I'll either end up completely broke or I make it," and just it's going to be interesting in that regard. By the way, you said let's not, or like you refuse to entertain the cycle top call narratives or whatever, right?
I don't view these as cycle tops, but I could see further downside from here. I think it's all about, kind of the context that you're viewing it under.
I think cycle top should be really entertained the moment we lose higher time frame levels, and I do not think that has happened anywhere pretty much. So I mean, we can always like I feel every single time people try to do that, and every single time in a bull market we just get another swing higher up, and then it gets scary again, and then people call for cycle top. I think cycle top, there is a potential for it, right? Potential, but that's it. Until we lose higher time frame structure, that is you just have to keep going with the market, with the levels, and expect the trend to continue up, because the trend can stay longer than people can remain to be calling cycle tops, although they will keep doing that anyway. So
yeah, and higher time frame structure for ETH would be just this massive range we've been in. So until we lose this range, we're ranging, right? We're ranging until we're not. So that's just a little visual for you guys to see. And technically we're in an uptrend still, right? Like, we started down here. This is more or less just a giant pause so far, especially after reclaiming the range here, right? Possible, break of structure, break of uptrend. But the fact that we got back inside the range, it is a great sign, right? And gives us, that feeling that we should start to continue higher here, or at least continue to range, right? But until 2,800, right? 2,800 is lost for ETH. They could mess around price as much as they want in here, and we're still just in a range, right? We're still just in a range, and potentially setting up a massive, high time frame continuation pattern, which would be this, inverse head and shoulders pattern. So we will see. Time will tell. But again, a lot of emotional games being played, and I've been seeing it out there for a long time. Even starting to feel it myself a little bit here. So but that's what markets are designed to do, right? That's what markets are designed to do. It's not going to be easy to catch this entry on what should be a historic run for crypto. So time will tell, but right now, just where we are after what we've seen yesterday, last night, and then FOMC on Wednesday, kind of just got to wait and see, let the dust settle, and see where we end up, towards the end of the week here.
This is the level ETH has to hold. I think this is the asset. If you watch any asset in crypto this week, it's probably going to be this one. You need to be seeing buyback at this level. You can't see that wick get breached, in my opinion.
I still could see a scenario in which it could get breached. I do not want to see it. Do not think there is a reason for it either. But I could see a scenario in which it gets breached, but has to immediately buy back up, like immediately. It cannot stay there for a day. Any daily closes below that wick, and it's not good. And at that point, it's time to entertain the cycle top theory, right? But until then, I refuse to. I cannot count how many times I have saved myself just sticking to the higher time frame plan instead of cheating at the higher time frame support by looking at 3-hour time frame, 1-hour time frame, or anything like that. Obviously, we do that because we entertain the market every single day, right? Yeah. So there is an action happening on these time frames. It is what it is. But the reality is that the markets are moved and bid by big guys on the weekly.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I would agree. I've never I've never came out of a situation worse off by kind of just on these cascading events in crypto, just kind of sitting back and letting the dust settle and things play out rather than just panic selling into an event like this. Like nine out of 10 times you come out way better on the other side of this, but you kind of just kind of have that mental and emotional IQ and toughness to kind of just stick through it, right? So we've been on this show time and time again. We show up regardless, right? Prices up, prices down, we show up regardless. And there's been so many times where, Bitcoin was trading at 56K or, 50K or whatever. And we were sitting here saying, we don't recommend selling into these large cascading events or these big sell-offs. We sit here today with Bitcoin sitting at, just about 100K. So again, I'm kind of preaching the same thing as well. It's not fun, right? I'm not having fun, right? I mean, I've done well, but still it's just more frustrating than anything. But at the end of the day, in my experience, selling into a large cascading event like this on some AI news, right? One Chinese AI company is going to top the entire stock market and crypto market. Come on, guys, right? That's a narrative, right? That's all like, look over here, right? That's not something that I think, you should be highly considering, in my opinion.
Agreed on that. The
Good
thing is
morning,
also,
guys.
right? Good morning, Max. The thing is also that ETH is trading at this level pretty much as we are. That is a must-hold level, but it's trading there basically since that December, pre-Christmas sell-off. It had many bounces in between, but it has not lost it. But it's been trading in it, and it's keeping you anxious this entire time as it's hovering around it. I just love to refer to the BNB 200 to 220 range so often, because lots of people really thought that the price was breaking down back then as well. And the longer it kept hanging around there, people saw that it's going to produce FTT 2.0. But instead, it kept people anxious, and then it bounced from it and created a bottom down there. Was it due to crime? Maybe, who knows? But as a regular guy who just has to work with what is given to him, and your advantage in the market then is patience and emotion control, and maybe some little more advanced TA knowledge and all of that. But if you work with these, this is where you can beat the market if you are able to master these. So ETH again at the same level it was on Friday, December 20th. Has not changed. It's literally at the same level. It's keeping people anxious, but nothing has changed from it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the biggest difference in 2025 on equity volatility being that the skew rises the first 6 months of the year. We've been in a downtrend on the VIX since basically 2022. Now we're seeing the skew rise meaningfully again for the first time in like 2 years. So it could always only translate into two things, which is market up volatility up or market down volatility up. Right now, obviously, we're seeing the latter. But if this market doesn't have any more question marks, if NVIDIA is able to climb that wall of worry, that could just as easily become a tailwind for a blow off top. And we've continued to say that. But yeah, there's going to be headline risk as long as the skew is rising, as long as the market's going to be a bit more sensitive to rises in volatility than it has been in previous years. But I think it's still TBD on whether or not, that's bearish or bullish. But we know volatility is going to remain a bit more elevated in 2025. So if you like volatility, if you like these price swings, maybe you absolutely hate them, but we are going to be getting more of them, which I think only fuels the theory that we were discussing about 10 or 15 minutes ago, that everybody's going to be hyper gambling generational levels of debt to try and make it. And it's just going to make for some very volatile, ultimately parabolic price action, but some very volatile price action in between.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that Tommy, you've talked about this scenario before where Trump almost ends up like stiff arming the Fed into lowering interest rates and stimulating. And I was really hoping that we wouldn't have to see any sort of intervention like that. I was hoping that we could just kind of carry on without that. But now is time. I mean, we'll see what happens at this week's FOMC. I think that's going to be pretty revealing. And I'm still cautiously optimistic that we don't necessarily need him to do that and that we'll be fine without it. But I think like the future here is inevitable. Like we're going to see risk rally this year. The question is it off the back? Like what's the catalyst for it, right? Like, do we need QE officially? Do we need the president to basically like inflate the economy, or can it kind of happen without? I don't know if you guys already talked about that, but I mean, I feel like we're going to know a lot more after FOMC this week.
Oh, for sure. I do not think I do not think the cuts are happening this Wednesday by the probabilities of it. Usually that's the case. I think rather what's going to be important, and I think that's priced in. I think what's going to be important, as usual, is what he has to say. So there will be projections for this year, and there are two key things that people definitely ask for. One is, are there going to be more rate cuts than thought on the last meeting, which was in December? So in December, there was where he was very hawkish. He could be, very dovish this time, saying if there is need for cuts, we will do them. It's all that the market usually needs to do. That's how it evolved to be. He can just touch also, I think he's going to be asked regarding QT, whether that's going to stop. All he can say to pump the market is, hey, QT is going to stop at some point this year. This is all he has to do. He doesn't have to cut. He doesn't have to do anything. Just say, yeah, we are considering stopping QT this year. Boom, market sent.
Do you think he would be that direct though, Jackus?
He would say it in his own way, like talk both sides, right? He's playing both sides so that he always wins. Will depend on what tie he wears, and all of that. But I think he's going to say he's data dependent.
Of course.
But they are, he's going to push it, right? He's very good with his words. He will be like, yeah, we are discussing potentially ending the QT this year. This is something that hasn't been said yet. If he mentions that, boom. So it's a first meeting of the year. Totally worth listening to.
Are you guys hearing the breaking news?
What breaking news?
All of a sudden, DeepSeek is like not working.
It's just like Solana. But
yeah.
No, we have been kind of like discussing with a bit of a tinfoil hat almost at times, like what would it take, and would the current administration be willing to like admit to full blown QE? I've always kind of in the back of my mind had that tinfoil hat on, that at the end of the day they all want to print. They're only going to print more money. And I think that they are, at the end of the day, looking for a reason to do it. I don't think that we're in that territory yet where they're just going to be starting like explicitly QE. But if NVIDIA continues to slide and that is a negative headwind on the market, I do think it's possible, especially because now you've got some economic narratives intertwined with it as well. You think that Trump wants to lose that narrative battle to China, that they're the future of AI instead of America? Absolutely not. So I think that this could end up catalyzing a few different things. For one, it probably ends up catalyzing some more investment into American AI companies, which will probably make the AI bubble going forward even more extreme. It tends to move in seasons and cycles. So maybe not like, okay, a day after it's issued, like everything from AI and crypto goes to the moon. But I do think it has the potential to make the AI bubble bigger. Obviously, it has potential to stimulate the market. I don't know. I think it's going to be a really interesting dynamic to play out. And quite frankly, the idea that Trump can have any influence over Jerome Powell, I feel like has been hugely discredited by many people over the last few weeks. And I think that they are ruling it out a bit too hastily. Look at what happened over the weekend. You really think that Trump won't drag Jay Powell out into the public and demean him, say terrible things about, the style of which that he is running the Fed in an effort to try and shift financial policy? I think that you probably have another thing coming, because he will do that. I absolutely think he will do that.
Did it last time, right? Didn't he like literally force him to raise rates or cut rates?
I was not trading markets back then, so I don't know, but I would believe it.
Listen to me. If I were them, I would postpone easing the conditions as much as I possibly could while keeping the markets relatively stable, right? And that's what I think they are doing. They are keeping the buying power left, because if they used all their ammo at once, what would they do then, right? That's why they raise the rate so much. Because if you are essentially at 0% interest rate, the only way you can go is up. You can try to go negative, but that doesn't work. So they want to have this power of staying relatively able to move the market. So that's what they have done so far for the past year. They keep, doing this little QT. They keep that they didn't rate hike as many people are saying to like 10% or something. That was stupidity. But they didn't really rate cut either. And they are kind of trying to stabilize the market whenever there is a little bit of sign of fear. They have these tools available, and they are really waiting with them to use them at the right time.
Yeah. No, I it's just like a shitcoin dev, right? You want to save your biggest catalyst to create the chart, or to like craft the structure and the chart that you want. There are still bullets left in the chamber, but we have talked, and we've already seen before in this cycle how these events can catalyze quantitative easing. So, the SVB crisis in 2023, I think it was October, the Treasury auction. So we've seen the Fed, we've seen the Treasury, we've seen the U.S. government pull levers after the market showed any weakness that ended up becoming stimulative for the overall market, and even catalyzed like massive rallies. Both of those events catalyzed huge up moves in the market. So I think, again, if this slide continues, you're just watching for that verbiage from the Treasury, from the Fed, because typically they have made it pretty clear when they're going to be stimulative.
Indeed.
So we'll watch it, but that's just kind of my tinfoil hat theory, is they are inevitably going to use this as an excuse to stimulate. We'll just have to see kind of what the events of the next few weeks look like.
Yeah, sadly, we have another FOMC, so we got to wait and see what happens, and likely a lot of noise and nonsense leading into it. So,
you know how it is. The FOMC is over. Wait till next FOMC.
Yeah,
it's like
finally
the king.
Over. Now we got to wait for the next one.
Yeah, the king is dead. Long live the king.
Gosh.
I'd love to look at some more altcoin charts, Louis.
Yeah.
Obviously, a mixed bag across the board. Is there anything showing strength today on y'all's watch list?
Well, before I do that, right, individual tickers, I feel like it'd be good to kind of put context back into perspective as far as where we are as a market, as far as altcoins go. Because, you know, in the day to day, things get loud, things get noisy. And, you know, maybe you're trading a certain subset of the market that hasn't been doing well, or you specifically haven't been doing well. So you feel as if everything's like down in the shitter, right? But if we actually look, this is total 3, excluding Bitcoin and ETH. So this is everything in crypto minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. And if you actually look at it, like we're sitting just at the old all-time high of 2021.
All right, Louis, I know you are about to drop some alpha, but guys, the chat has spoken.
Well,
the chat has spoken.
That. I'm gonna stop.
We're gonna have to throw soybeans on for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Louis.
I
could
don't
tell
say
you were
sorry
about
to me. Say sorry to them. They just I might not even go back to the alpha I was just about to spill. Honestly, that's pretty annoying. So let's go to the soybean weekly.
I think it's been a while since we've soybean the audience. So for those who do need a reminder, we throw the soybeans chart up on Market Check when the like button is not being respected. I know it's a red day. I know you guys hate to hit the like button on a red day, but we are here every single day for you cooking, whether the market's green, whether the market's red, or whether the market is gray. I think you would consider like flat to neutral. We are here every single day. So if you guys can just move your mouse over a little bit to smash the like button, we would be very appreciative. And obviously, Louis is about to cook you guys up something delicious as well. So let's start off the week great. Let's hit the like button. We're going to keep cooking for you. And yeah, for now, you're getting a little bit of a little dose of soybeans.
Who wouldn't love that?
I mean, it's like the soy boys are trying to put in the bottom here on the weekly.
657 people watching live on YouTube alone, and we should be pumping this to above at least 300 likes, guys. Not even there. That's half of you.
I agree, Buccarino.
Buccarino.
Oh, his name's actually Buccarino.
Armin.
Man, oh man. What do you think about soybeans here, Jackus?
Well, I think this guy said it very well. Danny Oberlander.
So you think something like this?
Converting all my soybeans to Bitcoin.
Sounds good, man.
Soybeans is gonna pull an ETH, start to move up, break the highs, and then nope, never mind.
Need someone to tell me why soy moving straight down over a 2-year period is a bad thing. All right, I think they've had enough punishment, Louis. Let's cook. I could tell that you were about to chef up a gourmet meal for him.
Trying to.
Tau is green. Are you serious?
Is it?
There's
what
no
is
way.
green?
I refuse to believe the chat.
Oh yeah.
Tau is 6% green. What the heck?
Crime.
Oh well, there's a bullish above box right there that I had charted at some point, so we're back above it, so it might be bullish.
Kind of reminds me that Pepe Fractal from 2023, don't you think, guys?
That's exactly what it looks like, Jackus. Let's get rid of that. Yeah. A little bit of this guy. Back inside.
I like that.
Yeah. It's going to go sir vertical. It's going to go backwards.
Can we get more of those?
Yeah, we need that. Is Tau AI? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that looks pretty good, but definitely got some work to do. But you could definitely put the Louis wedge on it.
Yes, China,
cooking something.
You might have DeepSeek, but we have Tau.
Oh god.
Albert would say, "You might have tau, but I have cubic."
All right. All right. So what I was getting into here, guys, was just looking at altcoins as a whole. Although it doesn't seem like it, right? Although it seems that we're in an environment where altcoins have done nothing but bleed, we're actually seeing a market where altcoins are pushing old all-time highs. And we don't have many data points to help us out with this chart other than what was last cycle, right? So what we saw in the 2021 run was that we did actually see, right? This is a weekly chart, but we did actually see some volatility when we got back to the 2017 all-time high, which was here, right? We had a nice run from the lows, started accelerating once we got back above the complacency shoulder from the bear market, similar to this one. And then we did see some volatility right at or near the old all-time high, which was we got above, we shot back below it, and kind of chopped around here for a couple weeks before continuing on and heading into price discovery here, and eventually making the the 2021 all-time high later in the year of 2021. So, I mean, looking at where we are now, we're kind of seeing that same volatility or that same kind of reaction we got at the old all-time high, which is, we're at the 2021 all-time high at or near, right? We got above it, we came back below it, and now we're working on getting back above the old all-time high. So although it feels crappy right now, we're not too far away from watching, altcoins go into price discovery as far as market cap's concerned. You just had to have been holding or trading the correct things, right? And trying to stay away from the garbage, which there's a lot of it out there. So, looking at on days like today, I like to look at charts like this, right? There's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of catchy headlines out there. But when you look at this, objectively, like this is pushing all-time high. Altcoin market cap as a whole is pushing its old all-time high. And in no way is that bearish, unless this was a deviation, right? We get back inside and this is a rollover, right? So that's what we don't want to see. But if it plays out similar to how it did here, yes, this was a lot less price action, but we're a larger market now. Things take time to turn, right? Like, so back here, this was a way smaller market. This is like turning a speedboat, and this is like turning like a container shipper, right? To turn the container shipper, it takes a lot more time for that thing to turn because it's so large, right? So although this is a lot more price action and chop at or near the all-time high, it makes sense because we're at such higher valuations. So I mean, looking at a chart like this, we got back above, came back, we flipped this complacency shoulder into support, and now we're trying to push back. If we can reclaim $1 trillion market cap, we're going to be seeing something very similar to what we saw in the last bull run. And that kind of gives context right now, right? Like, remain level headed. This is kind of what should be on the horizon. And we're kind of seeing that volatility and that kind of inflection point where people kind of don't really know. You got people calling top, you got people calling the beginning. People are kind of all over the place. And we're seeing that in the price action as well. So watching this chart, I mean, anywhere up in this area, right, a price is not a problem, right? It's actually a good thing. And we should expect, what we saw previously, which is a break of the old all-time high. Altcoins go into price discovery, and we see a crypto bull run. So, I think this chart tells a large story, and I just thought it was probably important to bring it up, especially on days like today. So,
Yeah, and Louis, total is actually just consolidating right on top of the previous all-time high, which
Yeah.
I think there's some signal in that as well.
I have it somewhere. Yeah.
So that's not inherently a bearish chart, right? This is kind of a weird little consolidation, but like I wouldn't look at that and
Like, look at
immediately
this.
think that's bearish, right?
Like, just like I showed you.
Especially with the 8-month consolidation that we had right below that all-time high.
Right.
This looks to me, and I know it's nuanced, but it looks to me to be a little bit more of like a brief pause after breaking up from an 8-month range, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and again, similar to that other chart I just showed you, this too, right? Like we broke the old all-time high, and we did, last cycle we did see a little pause here, right? These are weekly candles, so like you kind of have to put it into perspective. This was a break of all-time highs for total crypto market cap, and you saw 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of kind of a pause after breaking the old all-time high before, seeing that blow off. I mean, obviously last cycle was a little wonkier, right? We had more of a double top, but the cycle before it was kind of like more of that blow off. But even we saw something similar here, right? We finally get above all-time highs. You see some indecision, right? You see some chop before, okay, this is really happening. We're doing this thing. And that's kind of where I think we're at, right? And this chart does a great way of showing it as well. We're similar to here, right? Back above the all-time high. And we're seeing some indecision. Like it's kind of like that disbelief stage. Like this rally will fail like the others, right? Or like that's kind of like where I feel like we're at, where it's like, yes, we're breaking all-time highs, but people are still uncertain. We need more confirmation and the market to carry higher for people to be like, okay, this is really happening. And let's start investing more money in this, right? But again, similar to how we saw last cycle, kind of the same thing, right? Broke all-time highs, multi-week pause, broke all-time highs about a month and a half ago, and now we're seeing that pause. But I mean, realistically, on the higher time frames, this just looks like we're just flagging up here, like after breaking a major resistance. Like that's bullish. It's definitely not bearish, right? So that's kind of how I'm reading it.
I'm going to continue to say something that I was saying this weekend in our Discord. The fact that alts are still not able to really take the wheel from Bitcoin, to me, is just a sign that Bitcoin is not near its top. Right. Because we will see ultimately that rotation occur at the top. I remember we've had this discussion so many different times over the last few years. And there were periods where obviously Bitcoin rotated very heavily into alts, but like that quote unquote alt season, people like to meme that it doesn't exist. I don't really agree. I do think that we will have a traditional alt season this cycle, but I have been saying if it is a longer cycle, it just means it could take longer for Bitcoin to top. Therefore, it could take longer for this alt season to arrive. But at the end of the day, it's not a bearish thing that Bitcoin dominance goes higher and that Bitcoin USD is simultaneously going higher with it. Everybody wants to say it's a Bitcoin cycle. I think Bitcoin being a guaranteed trade at this point, like that rhetoric is beginning to become a bit overcrowded. Not to say that Bitcoin won't continue to outperform altcoins in the near term, but I think that these are good things to be seeing people say. I think ahead of the next few years where there will be an alt season. I want to see a bunch of people who have been calling for alt season suddenly think we're not going to have an alt season. Because when that starts to occur, then you finally do start to see a general like inclination towards under allocation, because I think that's typically what causes these huge rallies. Look at Bitcoin last year. A big reason that it rallied so hard on the ETF news is because nobody was allocated to Bitcoin. There are probably some similar dynamics there to, over the last few weeks and months that people were still under allocated to Bitcoin. Like when Trump took office, people were probably under allocated to Bitcoin relative to altcoins, strategic Bitcoin reserve, obviously being the headline that would push Bitcoin. But yeah, I think we keep entering these periods where people are probably relatively underexposed to Bitcoin because they keep thinking that altcoins are about to outperform Bitcoin, but we're not at that point of the cycle yet. It's coming, but we're not there yet. And I think that's what really the last few weeks have been indicative of to me. But
I agree.
cyclically, like I will say, this was the time. This was the time for Bitcoin and really other large cap tech equities to begin rotating into altcoins. And the fact that we have not seen that yet does make me think maybe the cycle's longer than people think. Maybe we have further to go on Bitcoin before we see that larger scale rotation into alts.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just with crypto, man. It's every market where one of the telltale signs every single time of a market really reaching that point of exhaustion is your shitcos, your garbage. They all just like completely ignore the signs of the blue chips beginning to lose steam. And I, for one, do not think that we are going to see a cycle top for crypto without the garbage of the garbage pumping. And I'm not talking about the 36 million shitters that exist. Okay. I'm talking about stuff inside the top, even 2,000 coins, right? The established projects, right? And I also want to debunk this narrative that I think is becoming a little bit too popular amongst people on X, thinking that they're right curving it when in reality they're the embodiment of the mid curve by trying to suggest that there won't be an alt season because there's too many coins. Most coins will not pump during alt season because there are too many. But we probably won't even notice the ones that don't pump because they're so obscure and garbage and new and just like they're just like pump fun shitters, right? More or less. Okay. So all the stuff that like I'm in, the panel is in, you guys are in, more established projects. That doesn't mean we don't get down in the trenches once in a while, but serious portfolio allocations. They are going to see the effects of the rising tide that lifts all ships. When the L1s pump, your coins will pump, right? That's what I'm talking about. So I think that people saying like we're not going to get an alt season, there's too many coins, they're right, but they're not adding the appropriate context and disclaimer to it. What they should be saying is all 36 million coins in existence are not going to pump. You need to hold coins that have a correlation to their L1s and don't just randomly pop up one day. Some stupid little meme coin that, is not part of a narrative, doesn't trade at all correlated to its L1 or its alpha, nothing, right? There's going to be a big alt season, right? And I refuse to believe at this point, 3 or 4 weeks into the new year, which is again the year after Bitcoin halving, which is typically when we see beta blow off and altcoins outperform. I refuse to accept this notion that this time is so different that we're never going to see beta outperform alpha. That doesn't happen typically. Like that'd be very, very strange. And I'm going to pull this up, guys. I think I talked about this last week, but I didn't add on another chart yet. So this is the Pepe fractal that I'm watching right here. And I'm still more or less planning on something like this to happen. Pepe comes back into its monthly FVG, sitting right on top of high time frame support, being our blue line. And down below, I have others. We're printing a similar formation down here, right? It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn similar. I'm expecting this region to hold more or less, okay? Look at this. The local bull trap that happened on Pepe last year, 2023. I guess 2 years ago now. So December 2023. Pepe topped here locally on December 9th. It bottomed on February 5th, right inside the monthly FVG. The dates are not going to necessarily be perfect, but the top was. The local bull trap this time occurred on December 9th of 2024, 365 days later. We're now diddling around inside of the monthly FVG. Very, very similar spot with others doing the same kind of bullish compression. So I'm just here to point out, like, this time really isn't that much different, and one telltale sign of the top, like we've mentioned, is here. Let me even get rid of this. Let's just look at this. Okay. So let's put Bitcoin USD on the screen. Okay. So here's Bitcoin. We're sitting around 100K. Let's add on a couple other things. Let's add on others. Okay. Actually, I think I just want others dominance. We don't even need others. We can just do others dominance. Okay. So what was one of the telltale signs of, froth entering this market a while back, back before we had our first peak in March? Well, look at what was happening down here with others dominance. Others dominance was moving up quite aggressively, right? So altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin on this entire move up until the peak. So others dominance was moving up, Bitcoin was moving up. So again, on this huge rally that Bitcoin had from 25 to 74 roughly, you saw a mini alt season, which by the way is exactly what we've seen before. It's like exactly the same thing. Now, I wasn't expecting, nor am I enjoying this little like break of structure with a really deep retrace, right, on others dominance. But we're printing the same structure that we printed in the past. High time frame, higher low. You got that mini alt season that we were just looking at right here. And then the real fun part should be starting very, very soon. Let me put down Bitcoin right here. So we had a mini alt season right here. We also had a mini alt season right here. Altcoins held up better than Bitcoin. We also had a mini alt season right here. So, what are you noticing about this? Like, we are doing more or less like what we have always done. Now, I would say we haven't really started alt season yet. We put our bottom, right? But alt season will begin when we really start like trending, okay? And we haven't started trending yet. We're trying to. Like, we had a nice shift of market structure, right? Like, this is a constructive move, even though the retrace has been nasty. This little break of structure right here is significant. Right here, because we were in a downtrend for a while and we finally broke out of it, printed a higher high, and now we've retraced, right? But we're still holding structure. So on the Bitcoin chart down below, I've shown you where we've had little mini alt seasons. And it's right here. It's right here. And it was right here. And then you kind of get like alt carnage. You get alt carnage. You get alt carnage. But then like the next phase of the cycle is really fun. That's when you typically get your beta blow off. So I don't know. I mean, not to be up on the soapbox again, but I'm just like, I can't possibly think that like this time is going to be that much different, where like we don't actually see beta outperform Bitcoin really ever. We've had like everything has been the exact same up until this point. So is the decade-long trend about to break? This goes back to 2015, and we've been following it perfectly, even all cycle. Like same little mini alt season with high time frame, higher low correction while Bitcoin goes into price discovery, and then we get alt season. Like, is this time really going to be that different? And then I'm sure Jack has maybe even talked about it before I got on the show, but it's like, look at a chart like BNB right here. Like, is it more probable that we're like in this grind up period here about to blast off, or that like the cycle top is in, given the context of the others dominance chart that I just showed you with Bitcoin down below? Like, you can decide, are we in the grind up, or is the cycle over? And here I can even go back to others dominance, and we could put BNB down below, because BNB is like one of the best barometers for alt season. It's the crime indicator. Like, let's look at what BNB was doing last cycle. I feel like they're just trying to make it so difficult to like catch the move, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Ansem is calling for 2,100 ETH right now.
Wow, that would suck.
I remember last time he was calling for extremely low prices in crypto. He got wrecked. If you didn't know.
I mean,
I see a way, but
I don't know, man. I mean, it looks so heavy. To me, this feels really similar to like this move over here. Like this kind of bleed. I don't know. Like it just feels so, it feels like bait or something. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's wrong.
It
I
honestly
don't think
looks
he's wrong
exactly
to
the same.
suggest that like it's that it's weak. Right? I mean, look at this thing. It looks so heavy. I'm just like, we just can't really like, I don't think we can break down here and not, I don't know about 2,100. I mean, he's expecting, so he's viewing it like this then.
I think if you lose 3K, you hit 17, 1,800.
Yeah, you can't lose 3K. You cannot lose 3K. No, 2,800. I'm going to say is my level. If you start trading below 2,800, then that's going to happen. But I mean, then there's something completely else different and wrong with the. So people are going to say, oh yeah, 2,100 and then V recovery. Like no. If we're starting to trade at 2,100, there's something largely wrong. And I don't think crypto is just going to V recover back to Valhalla after that.
I mean, my biggest counter argument against that is that President Trump just bought like $250 million of ETH, like right here. I'm like, is this man really about to like take that drawdown? I don't know. I don't know if that's a inappropriate take, but that's a little hard for me to imagine personally. But we kind of do need to hold here because there's really not much stopping us from backfilling this entire move if ETH doesn't hold around here. There's just simply not. Like that was a thin little move. We're going to need to see this region hold. But also like over here, I mean, I remember I was speculating on downside over here with this move. Like I remember looking at this being like, we are about to gig a rug. Like this was supposed to be the breakdown right here. Look at that trend. We're sliding, taking out all these lows, right? And then it just turned around suddenly. So I'm kind of viewing this in a similar light to over here. I have to go to the 2-day. Where it feels like similarly heavy, right? It feels similarly heavy where it looks like it's kind of like floating in no man's land and like it's getting ready to break down. So is it bait or not? But I do know this, like if you had broken down right here, if you broke down right here, then you probably would have come back to this level. It was what I was looking for at the time because it's obvious, right? You had this whole kind of like inefficiency that could have still been backfilled.
Max entertaining these levels surely must mean the bottom is in. I remember Max every time saying, I'm not entertaining these levels.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing is like, if you don't, hold up here. I mean, it feels similar enough to me where like you have this. It's dangerous though. That's the thing. Like it feels like there's a very obvious inefficiency with some demand below. This feels like an obvious nuke spot, but it feels like we're floating in no man's land right now. And I'd say this is the breakdown spot, like similarly to over here, in Q4 of 2023, you're going to need, that market structure break to just, I mean, if you get this to the upside, and again, we got some work to do, right? But if you manage to, through FOMC or something else, this float into no man's land, which without question is drawing and baiting in shorts. There's a lot of fear, a lot of FUD, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people looking for like this obvious level. I don't know about 2100, like I guess maybe, but you do have a lot of support down here. That's the thing to note about this. Like you do have some support down here. Oh, I'm on the wrong chart. It won't show it to me. You do have, a big demand level. I don't know where the point of control of this is. It's probably like, right around here. But you're not going to like chew through this level. You're going to have some support around here. But like this is you're floating in no man's land. Like how many people right now are looking at this going, all right, like easy, right? You shouldn't get back above, like 3,300 if you're going to nuke here, right? That's kind of an obvious looking setup where, in my opinion, this was obvious too, where you don't know if it's going to turn around necessarily, but if you kind of get back above, at the time it was like maybe 1,700, like you're gonna fly, right? You're gonna see that, what the heck? You're gonna see that crazy snapback. You're gonna get that crazy snapback, So I'm like, where's that spot here? And in my opinion, it's probably like right up in here, 3,400. So I don't know. I mean, you're floating in no man's land and it's scary, and something needs to give here. But I don't know. I have a hard time imagining that like we have that bloody of a January unless we get that scenario Tommy's talked about where like markets literally just nuke and then Trump bullies the Fed into basically like inflating markets again. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't come to that, because also at the same time too, like we have Dixie finally starting to move down. Like
I
we
think the
finally
added
have.
part of the dollar, Max, not to interrupt you, I just wanted to say this is big as well for global liquidity, because with the dollar coming down, China will finally be actually able to stimulate their economy.
So we finally have this breakdown. So I'm just like, damn, like, are we really even going to need like government intervention to inflate markets? Is that really what it's going to take? I don't know. End of rant.
No, I think you have all of these tailwinds shaping up for, I mean, in my opinion, years of bullish price action at this point that kind of make me think the cycle hasn't even started yet. I know that's kind of like a very hot take, especially if you've been here since the 2022 lows. Like, oh, what do you mean the cycle hasn't even started? We're probably closer to a cycle top than the cycle just getting started. And I don't know. I mean, I see things going much higher over the next few years. I see the catalyst for it to occur. And I don't really think, just to go back, not to beat a dead horse, but, and I know the president only has so much control, but again, if you don't think that he's going to drag Powell out into the deep water if he doesn't get what he wants, I think you've got another thing coming. Like he is going to force the Fed's hand if there is any serious turmoil in markets. I do not believe that we're going to have an extended bear market under Donald Trump, unless prices have just gotten so obscenely high that there's no other alternative.
I think lots of people are simply not seeing the forest for the trees once again, and that's this giant range that's been going on for the 4 years. And I agree. Like again, we are at the level that must be held that we've been in since pre-Christmas time. You know, we are still trading at that level, 3,100. That said, we are still within this 4-year-long ascending hard time frame range, hard time frame triangle, whatever you want to call it, right? And there will be lots of people who say, hey, everyone's seeing this, therefore it doesn't play out. I cannot count how many times people have told me that. How many times people said, hey, there's a big cup and like there was a big cup and handle on BTC prior to the breakout to 100k. Like with that March top in 2023. And people said the same thing. Hey, everyone's seeing that, therefore it doesn't happen. And then boom, it happens, right? And again, I agree, we are at a level we must hold. I was saying that there's a good chance we come back to test it out yet again, to do these final shakeouts. They prolong it as much as possible. They did not deliver on the January seasonality, but at the end of the day, it's really going, in my opinion, in hindsight, it's going to be as obvious as this. And if this breakout truly comes, then with this energy that's been accumulated for the past year, just alone here, and for the past 4 years, it's going to trend for a while.
You wouldn't get it.
A nice trend line.
You wouldn't get it. Legacy. Study legacy. I don't know, man.
We're wait and see mode until Wednesday at this point. What are you gonna do?
Oh, for
That's all we
sure.
can do. Wait.
I
and
just
see.
hope we don't break down before then, man. That would be not good.
I think we're going to bounce into FOMC. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but maybe a little lower, bounce into Wednesday, see where we go.
Yeah, this morning's bounce just got completely sold off.
There's nothing that people love doing more than selling crypto. It's like their favorite activity these days.
When it goes down, not when it goes up, though. They hate selling in profit.
The selling will end when NVIDIA bottoms, in my opinion.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, like, what's driving the price action that we're seeing? The general de-risking, and it's the same dynamic we talked about last summer. NVIDIA went up so much over the course of a year and a half that in the same way you would coin margin something like Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol, people effectively coin margin something like NVIDIA. So when NVIDIA drops, you're going to have these after effects that can impact the market. But I think at the end of the day, if NVIDIA is finding the bottom, when NVIDIA is finding the bottom, like indexes are finding the bottom. The structure of indices looks almost exactly like NVIDIA since 2022 because it's been the breadwinner. So I think whenever this is bottomed, the selling will stop. The market will base out again, and it will probably resume its high time frame uptrend. And now I think, again, you've got the perfect excuse for the US to stimulate, if not the entire market, at the very least, the AI space. Because, again, I doubt that Donald Trump is going to want to say, hey, the future of AI is not in America, it's in China. He's not gonna, I don't think that's how it's going to go down.
Especially after his, he had, who did he have, man? He had Sam Altman and who's that other guy, man, to the White House. He's like that. He's like an Asian whale, man. Who is he?
Justin Sun.
Oh, Sama.
Yes. Yeah. They're all excited about AI and stuff like that. I don't know. We need something, man.
He'd do the $500 million investment, and Trump tried to negotiate into $1 billion live.
Something like that, yeah. I don't know what to make of the VIX here, man. It's trading very schizo.
It's a range.
It's true. It's respecting the range for now.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it came and got the rest of the liquidity it didn't get on that last mean reversion bounce. And then it just got absolutely annihilated again this morning. So we will see. I mean, realistically, this looks exactly like it did right to the left, where it was, going from range highs to range lows before we got the ETF news. Like, it's kind of just doing that same like stair step down to range lows from range highs, and then bang, elevator up.
Talking about this, Louis? Something
Yeah.
like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It looks like almost
I mean, I remember this right here. I remember Tommy caught a sick long on this move right here.
Yeah, that was one of
Tommy,
my
I
favorite
remember
trades
that.
last year.
Yeah, I remember that. That one was perfect. But I remember watching this, and there were a lot of people at minimum looking for this retest, but even more people at the time were looking for this full retrace, like down into here. You know, I saw a lot of that last time. And I mean, to be fair, we ended up doing that over here, right? It's just you got the pump first.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man.
I
I have a
sick
tough
long
time
there.
imagining, like, this is where I struggle a little bit, where I'm like, we really just spent so long carving this out, right? We spent over 3 months carving this out. Powerful breakout. Are we really about to just nuke through all that value? Like some of the calls I've seen today, high profile people in the space calling for, low 2Ks. I even saw one guy, I'm not going to say who it was, calling for sub 1,000. Sub 1,000.
And then did they have the
Sub
line
1,000.
that just goes straight up after that?
He has
Actually, yes.
lowered his targets to 500 now.
I'm not going to even say who it was because it doesn't matter. He's got a huge following. And I saw some analysis that suggested we could be maybe not 500, but like we could be like down in here, And I'm like, really? Like, what am I missing here? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem super likely to me. Feels like, we should be somewhere around here. Like this is like your demand region. You're like slowly climbing up here. Like, why would you nuke like down into here and like cut through like all this support?
Is it really support?
Yeah. How's that not support? This?
I don't know. I just think below 3K, that stuff is fair game.
But why would we not, like, how is this? I'm not even like trying to press you. I'm just trying to understand, like, how is this not demand if we accumulated for 100 days, popped out of it, and then come back and retest the other side of it? Like, how is that not demand?
I just think if you're filling the entirety of those FVGs that created that impulse higher, you're probably just going to go ahead and take all the stops below that support.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with this take too, because there was no demand created on the way up except this one. So if we were to revisit the demand, those 90 days, You would come below those lows. So really the fight is right now, right here. But I will always say this, as I always have been, and it always worked out. Obviously, at some point that's going to fail, but if you play the trend, you expect these levels to hold until they don't, and that's how you win on the longer term, because you cannot win by trying to guess. You just have to follow these.
ETH will be fine.
I think BNB looks incredibly strong. Well, it was a little bit weak today, on the local drop, but so was everything else, right?
Yeah.
But the way it's holding right now, and the way what I think comes to it is just, bruv, it's really here, right? Maybe it's over, but until it is, I'm just like, bring it.
BNB is just teasing up there. I'm just kind of like, if we're sitting above these prices like a week or two from now, and then we get an announcement that like, oh, Binance is legal in the United States. Whoosh.
Oh my
Right.
god. Yeah, I didn't think of that, but that could truly come as well. That's always wondering or interesting. What is going to be the news, right? You look at the chart, the news is coming.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about like assets being suppressed. BNB looks like it's being suppressed, like actually before a huge breakout. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, like, well, BNB looks like the best asset or best major in crypto, I guess. So it was Solana. Now it's probably BNB that looks the best on a higher time frame. But is the U.S. going to be buying BNB, or is that just a product of China? And I saw a great tweet about this today. Keep saying that the next bull market will come from China. A lot of that's going to be from obviously them stimulating. A great take I saw today from Good Alexander was basically that, if a bunch of people get rich off of AI, maybe technical developments in China, where did they go with the money? Because they're probably not going to be putting most of it in a Chinese bank. I think I know a spot. I think I know a spot where that money's going to end up going. But
that's said, Tommy, the CEO of Binance is the right hand of Larry Fink right now, isn't it?
Is he?
Yeah, he was working at BlackRock, and he's now
really.
Yeah,
Richard Tang.
As far as I know.
Well, that's
let me fact check this, but that's what I remember was the case when he got appointed.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, Richard
Well,
Tang.
the plot thickens. I love watching Fink and other BlackRock guys just talk about crypto, and you can tell they participate. I don't know quite how deep their participation runs, but they know what they're talking about when they're up there speaking, not just about things like Bitcoin and ETH, but they play it down. But I already can tell, like, those dudes have on-chain wallets. They're probably, I don't know if they're in the trenches, but like they're definitely involved on chain.
What do we think of this chart, guys?
Kind of needs to bottom, or it's going to look like it's speed running Bowden.
I'd say the most bullish part about this chart is mainly just that there's still a lot of volume on it, and it's listed on every exchange already. So I just feel like throughout his presidency, it's just going because the liquidity is so deep on it and there's good volume. It's not moving a ton right now, but it's going to consistently attract traders just because of the liquidity and the volatility. So I feel like eventually you get like a big pump on it, but I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent on it. I don't mind it. I hold some. I hold a risk-free bag, but
Just a fact check. That was not correct on the Richard Tank being with working at BlackRock. Just checked it. I do not know why I had that information in my head. I think I saw that floating around like a year ago or something. But my bad.
Oh, I mean, Binance hires a bunch of people from like former SEC, former hedge fund people, so that might have been what it was. No, I remember during the summer where all that FUD was coming out around Binance, they had like multiple former SEC board members on staff. Good times.
the revolving door.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think this is the time to sum it up as we wait for the FOMC to tell us what our financial
Jack
future
saw the
will look
Casper
like.
chart pop up and was like, I think it's time.
Check week, big week. Tommy, take us out.
It is a monumental week for markets, guys. We're already seeing Monday kind of set the tone for the importance of this week. All of a sudden, we have to pay a little bit more attention to Powell, what he's going to say. And I think the added wild card to markets this year, we were touching on this dynamic, is not just Powell, but his relationship with Trump going forward. What does that mean for markets? Is there any importance? I tend to think that there will be, or that there could be, and we'll just have to see what that looks like, right? But really the things to watch out for as we close the week. What is NVIDIA going to do? That's pretty much the story, right? This is kind of the first time that we're seeing a foreign company or foreign tech really challenge the dominance of the Mag 7 in a few years. So I am very curious to see how this ultimately plans out. And I will have more thoughts on that later in the Discord, guys, if you want to view them. I know the whole team will as well. We'll be talking about that in our channels. And of course, on the afternoon call, guys. So if you're looking for a place to get your go-to alpha for the cycle, come join the family. Come join our Discord, our premium service. We give you guys 4 to 5 hours of calls every single day. That's not an exaggeration. In fact, we might be underselling it because sometimes we talk for even longer than that. Of course, like I said, you also get access to our thoughts on the market and even sometimes our positioning. So make sure to check out the BB Discord, guys. We were nice enough to bundle this with the BB terminal, which will be your go-to tool for this cycle, guys. Whether or not you are an active trader trading on lower time frames, derivatives, there's been a lot of volatility here over the last 48 to 72 hours. If that is your cup of tea, you can use the BB terminal as a very helpful and useful tool to be able to do this successfully. Of course, whether or not you are a long-term investor looking to make more educated investment decisions based on cyclical data, long-term investment history on previous crypto assets, we've got the tool for you as well. And soon, whether you are a degen on chain, you love meme coins, you love AI agents, you're probably going to love whatever the next meta is too. We will soon have the tool for you as well through our degen section, which we are actively building out. So make sure to take advantage of the BB terminal now at these prices, guys. Of course, if you are looking to hone your educational base or even reach trading level mastery, we have a course as well. That is the BB Academy. Come learn from the entire team, all of our diverse skill sets. Really think it's invaluable that we provide a course for you guys that lets you learn from 6 or 7 different trading styles. I don't think there's really anything comparable on the market. So check that out as well. And of course, this volatility has been extreme. picking winners has been difficult in these current market conditions. But if you're interested in having the team potentially manage capital for you as a way to kind of circumvent that difficulty, well, we've got an SEC registered hedge fund as well, which is BB Wealth Management, guys. And we trade digital assets in a way that looks to capture their asymmetric history of upside returns while also balancing the downside risk posed in any financial market. So if anything that I've just said over the last 2 minutes resonated with you, make sure to check out the description below. Everything that I just said linked in there. If you enjoyed Market Check today, fear not, we will be back tomorrow, as well as every single weekday during what's shaping up to be, like Max said, a very big week for financial markets. So make sure to come back for Market Check tomorrow and maybe every day this week. If you really enjoyed the show, we hope to see you. And we will continue to cook. Our typical start time is around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Wabi will wrap us up later in the day with Market Talk. That is a Twitter space hosted through the Because Bitcoin X account as well as Wabi's account. So make sure to follow both of those accounts so you can be notified not just when we start those spaces or when we schedule those spaces, but of course also when we go live. That's it from us though, guys. Big week. Stay safe. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in. And of course, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again.